Roast beef. Hello. Oh yeah, I kind of forgot I was doing the intro there.
I was just wondering if there was just going to be an epically long pause there while you waited for something to happen.
I very nearly forgot that Dan wasn't there. I sort of like stumbled on the hello.
That's why you did the beef. That should have been the clue.
But it felt wrong. The fact that I beefed myself.
Yeah, that was kind of weird.
And that sounds weird in itself. Beefing oneself.
Self.
What would that even be? Is it like slapping yourself in the face with a steak, or would there be more to beefing yourself?
Do we need to go into this now? Shouldn't you be doing an intro before we actually start out?
Yeah, tell me about it. Okay, as you've probably guessed by now, this is another Saladcast sans Dan. So me and Zach will keep things operational while Dan is still in the depths of Scotland doing God knows what.
If you call this operational.
Yeah, it's fine. See? I haven't called it shitty so far.
I'm sure
So that's a good sign.
Here comes
So
the
yes,
train.
this will...
This is Dan. This is what we have instead of Dan. Conveniently timed trains.
Edit. Well, it's all going great so far. We've already had a catastrophic loss of networking at my place, and now we're resuming recording. Presumably the edit won't sound that bad. And this is the first time we've had to do any of this shit.
I don't know, it might sound pretty bad. It's hard to say. It was funnier on my end, because of course it took quite a long time for it to realise that I disconnected. So it just sounded like you'd somehow muted yourself or your microphone had become unplugged. So I was just like, what's going on?
I really hope some of the communication got through from my end, because it was like, Zeg, you there? Oh shit. Shit.
Well, that's highly entertaining, apparently.
Oh shit. I don't know. It could be amusing. It's nearly as good as you remember the early ones where it was just the early casts where it was just like lag.
Yes, but we might still have to say that at some point.
Lag. Depends whether or not your iPlayer household is going to take over again.
Yes.
I do find that relatively fascinating that, iPlayer has such a crippling effect on UK broadband.
Yes, it's pretty terrible.
Way too popular for its own good. I mean, it is awesome and stuff. Thank you, BBC. I mean, it's the only way I can watch TV at the moment, having no aerial.
They still fail, though. Do you see they've made that new version of it now again? Like...
Oh, yeah, the slight redesign, where some of the old features are missing for some reason. It's like...
Yes, once again, it's like the classic make a new design, but then make it less functional than the previous one.
Yeah, I mean, what's happened to that handy little thing in the sidebar that's like you were last watching, so if you didn't finish something, it would remember exactly where you left off.
Yeah. And why does it, like... Why is there 4 different panels that the top panel can be? It's like, there's the features, and then there's, like, recommended for you, and then it's like, well, these other 2? Do we need these?
Yeah. But are they like, I can't really remember those. Are they marked as like coming soon or something? Or
And the worst thing about it is like, one of the things that I kind of want to watch on iPlayer is like the random. They for some reason, I'm not sure why this is, but there's probably some ridiculous legal shit behind it. But it's like they're not allowed to put Match of the Day on there, but they are allowed to put Match of the Day 2 on there. So it's like you can get the football highlights of the Sunday games and the re-highlights of what they showed on Match of the Day 1.
Yeah,
but then for some reason...
I think you're right. I think there are some licensing bullshit around that, like for football anyway. Like where a channel buys the rights to be able to show football from a day or something. So Sky probably have that.
Yeah, but then the thing is, even though they are allowed to put Match of the Day 2 on there, for some reason, despite it being shown on Wednesday, it was shown on Sunday, it takes them until at least Wednesday to get it onto iPlayer, and it's like, what exactly are you doing? How can it take that long? Maybe that's legal something again. Maybe they're not allowed to show it for like 3 days after the day of the match or something.
There's a company in Holland that can do. They basically have an iPlayer type service. I think it's got a very similar name to some services in England. They're called like TV Catch Up or something, which is awfully confusing for me. Juggling between the names of these services that are all the same name, but they have this iPlayer type service. Except it's ridiculous in the sense that as soon as a program goes off air, as in the moment it finishes, it automatically goes through a transcoding engine, or several of them, to put it on the internet and put it on available for iPhone and mobile devices and IPTV setups and all that kind of stuff. And in the majority of cases, all of that work is done automatically in 2 minutes. That's insane. Ridiculous. To transcode, it'll even work on live broadcasts and stuff to a point, as in it won't be live, but the moment the live thing goes off there, it will have a recording of that, and it will just go transcode, and in 2 minutes the entire live broadcast is up. Obviously, depending on its length, but that's still pretty impressive.
That is pretty ridiculous.
I'm just trying to think what kind of server farm they have to run that.
Is it as good quality as iPlayer or whatever?
I have no idea. Not being a Dutch resident, I don't have access.
Well, you said that you had to know about these things somewhat.
It came up at a conference once, but yeah, I was at a conference. Check me out.
An excellent conversation. It's like we're talking about football and iPlayer. It's like, wow.
Techie.
Hello, international audience. You don't know what the fuck we're talking about.
Well, they have announced that iPlayer will be available outside of the UK.
Whatever that
UK
means.
Residents.
It's like iPlayer, but what about the programs?
Well, yeah, this is the thing. Yeah. Well, the current plan, as far as I know, is that if you live in America, you're still fucked because you need to be have some sort of login or something so you can access it and say, yeah, I'm this person, to get access to the program still. Whether that means a login attached to your license or whatever, don't know, but apparently they're doing it. I've always wondered why they don't attach iPlayer to TV licenses.
Well, I mean, it's like they say, you're not allowed to watch live TV through iPlayer unless you have a license. Don't do it. But there's nothing to stop you from doing it.
No, there's absolutely nothing that they can possibly do. Watching it, they could use the classic TV van stalker thing. If you didn't have a license, for instance, and watched iPlayer on your computer and stuff, then it'd be well within their rights. But even I still think that's rude.
And a pain in the ass for them.
Yeah.
To have to have vans driving around, looking at people.
Staring them in the eye through the windows. Ding, ding, ding.
Something like that.
Speaking of which, the stalker noise, I mean, because it features at one point during the thing I'm about to mention. It's really disappointing to hear that the Scott Pilgrim film is flopping badly.
Really?
Yeah, really bad.
But you've already seen it twice?
I've seen it twice because I think it's amazing. And pretty much anyone I know who's seen it comes away thinking, yeah, that's pretty damn sweet. Admittedly, they're probably all techie of mind, except for one, who enjoyed it anyway, which is saying something. And yeah, it hasn't, as far as I know, it hasn't made the money that it cost to make yet.
That's kind of poop.
That's really bad. I mean, what does that say? I can't help but feel that they targeted the wrong audience, and that they targeted the right audience because it's my audience, and I love it. However, we're probably, because they've targeted the sort of techie generation, I guess, with all the video games and blog, it's probably going to be the most pirated film ever.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking pretty much.
The audience they guided to go see it have probably already watched it online and through illegal means, so they didn't have to listen to that Irish chick in British films going, a small minority of the audience download films illegally. Thank you for coming and not damaging the industry. No.
But at least they also made a game. I guess that makes some money.
Well, yeah, the game, conversely, is doing really bloody well.
Maybe that'll make up for it.
It's topping the PSN charts at the moment.
Yeah, but what else is there on PSN, really?
Yeah, that's a very good point. There's not really much else to say really about PSN at the moment. I can't really remember many. Oh, Earthworm Jim, I think, is one of its competitors.
Again,
that doesn't really say.
Heather Agent.
Yeah. However, we should probably talk about that because we've purchased and been playing Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the game, the review. Too many does.
I bet someone in some magazine or internet site somewhere did that.
Yeah, probably. It's just asking for it, isn't it? Scott Pilgrim
Just keep adding
the World, the game,
colons
the
to
review,
the end of stuff.
the exclusive, the not exclusive, the late, the belated. Ours will be the belated. Because we're always behind.
Yes.
Yeah, so we've been playing it, and my view is it's totally freaking sweet. It's like I never really got on with like the whole, Double Dragon aside, because that was a laugh. I didn't really get on with many of the sort of side-scrolling beat-em-up games of when they were popular.
Somehow I don't think we would like Double Dragon as much as we did at the time.
No, probably not.
Because it's like every time the thing is, I don't think I've ever managed to get a hold of or play the Atari ST version that we played.
Yeah.
It's always like some, other console. It's like, this isn't how I remember it, but then it probably was quite a lot like this. I'm just not remembering it very well.
Yeah, the problem is, I suppose we're exposed to a lot of media about Double Dragon because it does get referenced a lot, and it was a different game. We're probably seeing the better versions or the arcade version rather than the ST version, which must be considerably toned down.
I don't know, the ST version, it's like every time I see someone... I mean, obviously that was... The ST one we had was like Double Dragon 2, wasn't it? Or was it Double Dragon? I can never remember.
I can't remember either. I know you had to...
No. See, that's the first problem.
I think it's the first game, because I think it was Double Dragon 1, because it ended in similar fashion. Because if it was Double Dragon 2, it ended the same way as Double Dragon 1, where you have to fight off for the hoe.
Yeah, but that wasn't this. This was the age when games did that. It was just like the exact same game.
Yeah,
just
pretty much.
Better graphics. But yeah, it's bad enough that I don't even know which of those games it was. But the SD versions of various games are always like strangely different, and then maybe it's just me because I had an ST and everything. It was like they always seem better. It's like I preferred the ST version of the Bubble Bobble music to the Amiga one, even though it was worse quality, technically speaking. It had shittier instruments and everything.
Far more
it
chippy.
just sounded more awesome.
To a point, they added like slightly toneful bass on the Amiga version, didn't they? Like they made it fat.
Yeah.
That was a bit more heavy.
But yeah.
Yeah, Double Dragon. Yeah, as I say, going back to my original point, I never really got into these sort of side-scrolling beat-em-ups. Like, I was never a big Streets of Rage fan. Playing it again now as part of the Sega Mega Drive Ultimate Collection on Xbox 360, I still don't really get on with it. Or, what was it, Alien Breed, I think was another one, where it's basically Streets of Rage, but for some reason you use guns that can only fire about 2 feet in front of you. Which is ridiculous. No, and a laser whipping robot, I think, is one of the options. But yeah, I didn't really get into them. Other than Fighting Force, because that was freaking hilarious.
Fighting Force wasn't really side-scrolling, was it?
No, it was it was sort of side-scrolling, but it was like an early attempt at doing it in 3D. So you could move into the foreground and background and had rotation and blah.
Oh yeah, I'm thinking... Oh, no, wait, I'm thinking of Freedom Force. This is slightly different.
Oh yeah, that's quite a lot different. That's an RTS, isn't
it? Well, I don't know what the fuck Freedom Force was, really. It was weird.
You didn't like it? I don't remember.
No, it was kind of awesome, in a way. It's like, Freedom Force had that stupid thing where it's like, you could destroy practically all the buildings in the cityscape, and it's like, it total up the damage and everything at the end of the round, end of the map or whatever.
So
you could make buildings collapse, and everything explode. It was weird. Weird.
What was I saying?
You were talking about Fighting Force.
Yes. Oh yeah, Fighting Force. That was amazing. I liked that. But yeah, it was never really done again after they tried that. Maybe they've probably. I don't think it sold very well. Probably with good reason because it was a bit retarded. But it was good fun. It didn't really make a name for itself, so I assume no one really tried it again to do like beat 'em ups like that. And it kind of died a death until like Castle Crashers, I guess.
Yeah.
Which
That
brought
made
it all
it
back and was awesome. And now Scott Pilgrim is basically Castle Crashers, but in a completely different guise, and still awesome.
It seems to work. It seems to be somewhat easier to make contact with people than Castle Crashers.
Yeah.
You have to be quite so precisely in line. Although you do have to still be pretty precise for resurrecting people.
Yeah, it's a bit inconsistent, isn't it? You can it's quite generous with you being. We're talking about the just to clarify this in these side-scrolling 2D beat 'em ups. They always try to do the concept of depth, like so you move in and out of the plane, but it's always a bit hard to judge whether or not you're at the same level as the opponent. And Scott Pilgrim is fairly lenient with that, in that you can beat people up from quite a reasonable depth distance away, but Castle Crashers is the alternative, which is pretty damn harsh. Except for when it comes to reviving people, as you're right, where it gets fucking harsh, doesn't it? You can be standing there just going, block, 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 block. It's like, no, fuck, I've got to move a tiny amount. Oh no, I moved too far, fuck, go back. Oh, fuck, he's dead.
Yes. Quite difficult to pull off, sometimes.
Sometimes you don't even notice. It's just like, oh shit, I'm blocking. You're watching the enemies to make sure they don't own you.
Well, that also happens quite a lot when it's like two people both go for the res at the same time, but you don't really realise which one of you is actually doing it, so you're just both still pushing the button.
I suppose you could argue that is half the problem of Scott Pilgrim's design, because they're using the fact that the modern machines can throw a lot more around than beat 'em ups back in the day, where it struggled to throw like 4 enemies around. So they fill the screen with stuff, and we haven't played it in 4-player mode, but in 3-player mode, it can get pretty fucking difficult to see what's going on.
Well, surely there can't be many more enemies than that in 4-player.
Well, let's hope not, but maybe they get hardier, but I think it basically multiplies the number of enemies, doesn't it? The number of guys that come on the side of the screen throwing baseballs at you in the first level definitely goes up, because suddenly an onslaught of baseballs comes on the screen. It is funny though. I do like how you can casually, accidentally beat up members of your own team and chuck them about and stuff. That's hilarious. Because you don't really have much control of that. It just sort of happens.
Well, it's the worst. Well, not really the worst one, but the one that always seems to happen entirely accidentally. Because it's like you can chuck an object and hit someone, and you sort of maybe could avoid doing that most of the time by just slightly looking ahead of where you're throwing. But then the one that happens a lot randomly is the one where you can actually throw your teammates sort of as an attack once you get the judo throw move.
Yeah. Well,
because normally you throw enemies, where it's you can throw them from standing.
So sometimes you chuck them, sometimes you pick them up and start hitting enemies over the head with their face.
Well, that's if they're already on the floor, though.
Yeah, I know, but it happens. Sometimes, most of the time, it's accidental. You're like, fuck. And then if you throw them, you actually end up hurting them.
Yeah.
So you have to just wait for them to jump out of it, or beat them. You use them to beat people down with, because for some reason that doesn't hurt them. But it is genius. It probably, maybe I know there's extra modes and stuff we haven't got to yet because we haven't finished the final level, but it probably could have done with a tiny bit more length, because Castle Crashers is probably just right, isn't it? Because it's quite long, but doesn't really get stale. Throughout its length, it changes enough. Whereas Scott Pilgrim feels possibly a little too short, and they don't do enough variation, I think, for my taste.
I think some of the problem is we don't actually know how long most of the levels are, because we always go through the shortcuts.
Well, that's true. We do take some of the shortcuts, but We don't think there's much more to them. And some levels you have to take the cuts because that's how you get through. Like, there are bits where you have
but
to
then you can't really tell which ones are shortcuts and which ones are the ones that you have to take until you've gone through them to know that, like, oh, the screen stopped scrolling here.
Yes. I hope those dings didn't just come out because I was just raising your volume.
I didn't hear anything, so it might be okay.
That's good. We are ding free. But yeah, I don't know. There's something about the Scott Pilgrim game that has a feel-good factor to it. It's probably just all the awesome chip music.
Well, I think that's pretty much why I like it. It's just like, I like it, but it's like, I have absolutely no knowledge of the background, not even the movie, because I haven't even seen that. So it's just like, I just like it because it's pixel art and chiptunes. Fuck yes. That's all I need.
It is very cool, isn't it? The art is really well. I mean, some of the smoother animations of like the classic video game pose jiggle. They've done that. I was sort of thinking to myself the other day, looking at it, it's like, damn, that must be really hard to do in pixel art because you have to sort of work out which bits to move and which not to, and to actually make it look like a smooth motion in limited range and keep it sharp must be pretty hard. And most of the pixel art is done by one guy as well, so that's quite impressive.
Yeah, I downloaded a couple because he posted like some of these animations on his blog, and I was like, oh, I can save those, ingenious. But it's like they aren't, even though they look really smooth, you don't really notice how few frames they are even.
Yeah, sometimes they've used the classic cheat sometimes of like having a single frame with motion blur in it, if you see what I mean. Like there's bits where you're swinging some of the weapons where you see that classic moment where you see the weapon several times in the blur. I think of Golden Axe when I see that because I remember the axe and swords doing that effect in it. Because those games had really fucking little animation. They were just like the walking animation was like 3 frames, if that. They were bad.
I'm just going to open this and see what it says. It's like basically the running animation is only 8 frames. So if you think about that in terms of like each step, because obviously you've got like left foot and then right foot and the arms, so that's only 4 frames per step.
Yeah, it's still pretty good looking though, isn't it? It's strange.
Yeah. Pretty weird.
There's something about, and not all animations are as smooth as others, though. I mean, that's quite noticeable. Some animations definitely have more, as I say, the post. The reason why I picked out the sort of pose jiggle is because that looks considerably smoother than the other animations. Or like the idle animations of the other characters look good, but the attack stuff is is a little less smooth. Maybe because they want to enforce the impact or something, so it holds the pose better. I don't know, but
I think it might just be that it's all set frame rate. So it's
Maybe.
like so when you're doing like a fast attack, obviously you've got less frames to put it into.
I guess. And I suppose when your character speeds up, the frame rate goes up anyway of the animations. So it's kind of mitigates that a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes, very very sharp and awesome looking game, really. Although I just can't help but notice, and I'd saved from bringing this up while we were playing it because it did strike me as a little odd. What the shit is up with all the female boobs?
Well, the jiggle.
They have really excessive jiggle. Maybe that's a play on Dead or Alive or something intentional, but it just looks totally weird.
It doesn't happen that often. There's only like 4 times. There's only like 4 moons.
There's, a few of the idol characters and shop owners, isn't it, that have the insane jiggle. Maybe there's like they fly off like in that Control Alt Delete sketch. I don't know. And the nice references to video gaming icons in the shops, like Speedy the Porcupine.
Yes.
And what was it? Never Ending Fantasy.
Yes.
Bionic Arm. Yeah, very cool. Go buy. Do it now. Support the game, even if you don't support the film, you bastards.
and then it'll even out.
I wonder if it'll make up for it in Blu-ray sales.
Well,
Because there have been a few things that have bombed at the cinema, but then made a lot of money in Blu-ray.
but then again, as we said, pirates. And
Well,
you don't exactly. It's like you know that if there's going to be like some kind of recorded in a cinema shitty cam video.
Well, yeah, of course.
But then
They're
obviously
becoming-
when they get into the Blu-ray, where it's like, now we can actually rip it. That would be the one that all the pirates are waiting for.
Far too easy to do Blu-ray ripping. Far too easy. From what I've heard. I don't do it, just for the record, I seriously don't do it myself. I don't have that kind of time or arsedness. But
Or a Blu-ray drive.
no, or a Blu-ray drive. That's quite important. But yeah, I know people that. Well, actually, I say I know people. We've tried it at work purely because we've had material we've been allowed to use for this broadcasting convention, and yeah, it's ludicrously fast and easy to do if you're just doing a straight rip. Presumably, transcoding it into something you could send over the internet must take a fair amount of time.
Yeah, that must be some fair old compression.
I mean, I do I've been working on like HD 3D videos at work, and on what is a fairly aging dual core system. It's not massively new, but it's not incredibly old either. It takes a good hour and a half to process 6 minutes of this footage, and that's converting it to H.264, which is basically what Blu-ray is. And it's it takes frickin' ages. So do pirates really like just set this off and leave it for like a week?
I don't know, they seem to do it like on the day or whatever.
Yeah, I don't get it. Unless they just have ridiculous rigs or clusters.
Maybe.
Something funny about the sound of a pirate cluster.
Maybe you can. Could you maybe even do it by distributed file, where just like send chunks of the file to different people,
I suppose you
and then
could.
we can pilot it.
But then maybe the sending of the files takes longer than the. Unless
Depends how many people you're sending it to, I guess. Depends how big a network you could have.
Well, sending it over the internet would probably take longer than the transcode. But raw Blu-ray, I mean, what we're talking up to 60 gigs worth.
That doesn't take that long. It's like 60 gigs isn't that much any longer, relatively speaking.
Still looking at, well, I don't know, on average UK broadband speeds to download like a game or something, you're still probably talking, 12 hours, maybe more, for a complete download. No, maybe you're right, maybe that is feasible. We shouldn't be giving people ideas.
Probably not.
We do not condone piracy in any way, shape or form. We are above that.
You mean endorse?
We do not... Oh yeah, you're right. Shit.
Good move.
I'm gonna get quoted on that now. Yes, I do. Just for the record, we do not endorse piracy. That's right, yes.
That was always knew that was going to happen.
Like my accidental racism. Apologies. We don't mean it. And this is an argument that comes on, the anti-piracy adverts you get. So the people that actually pay for it and have done a good job get reminded that it's a good idea not to be a pirate and stuff. And it's like, what exactly have you paid for? Oh, an extra 4 minutes of adverts. Damn it! Get to the presentation.
4 minutes is occasionally hilarious, though. It's just like,
well, yeah,
take the piss out of it.
And has mysteriously explosive discs. Instead of, like, just branding them with his hot eye and they explode. How is that possible?
Well,
you tell me, Mr. Pirate.
They are made of, like, plastic or something. Especially if you heated them up really fast, they'd shatter.
In a fireball.
Well, yes.
Yeah, the other interesting thing about that ad is you don't really notice it, but I've started picking up on it, is like while they're reading out all the information at the end for the number to dial, and then sort of like give you a few alternatives. If you're in Australia, you might need to dial this number instead, or if you're in the Republic of Ireland, because the Republic of Ireland for some reason comes after Australia. No, I'm not sure that's right. They could go through these lists of numbers, but in the background there's just this constant ominous tone.
Yeah.
It's really scary. So anyway, yes, piracy. Whoop whoop. No, I'm only whooping it because it gave us something to talk about for about 10 minutes. Sweet.
Yeah.
Bastards.
Because we totally don't have anything else to talk about.
Actually, on a similar note, there was a mandatory firmware update that supposedly fixes the whole PS3 piracy thing. So, like,
supposedly.
PS jailbreak or whatever it's called no longer works.
Some period.
And if you don't get the new firmware update, you can still continue to hack your PlayStation, but you'll no longer have access to PSN. Naturally, the usual. Unless someone comes up with a way of dual booting a PlayStation. You know, so you can download Scott Pilgrim, bitches.
Well, yes, but then you could get it on Xbox instead.
Well, that's also true. Download Scott Pilgrim. Woo. I did have a go at a few other live arcade titles. Like I tried Monday Night Combat, which got released a few weeks back as part of the Summer of Arcade thing. It's a bit fucking weird. It's trying to cash in on the old class-based multiplayer thing that Team Fortress started.
Yeah.
And with a sort of camp, sort of sporting, Unreal style aesthetic, except real sort of game show style. And it seems to hit all the right buttons until you play the game. And it doesn't seem to work that well. As far as I can tell, it's basically just every game is a bit of a walkover. And there's no real balance between sides, so there's no real push and shove, and the game's over far too quickly, and I don't know what the fuck's going on, and maybe it's just me being a bit new to it, but I don't know, I didn't really get it. I didn't see how it was balanced or worked. I like what they were going for, it just doesn't work for me.
Can't beat Team Fortress.
Well, yeah, probably. And I haven't really looked up anything about this Brink game that's supposedly coming out, because that appears to be a similar sort of affair. Or, well, I say a similar sort of affair in that it's class-based, but it doesn't seem to... They say they're breaking the rules somewhat and blending genres in that epic landslide of buzzwords.
That's also meant to have more of an actual single player as well, isn't it?
I don't know. I have absolutely no idea.
Well, that's good. Between the two of us, we really don't know anything.
Okay, then let's move on.
Wait, I was just going to have a quick look to see if I can see when it comes out, or whether it is out.
Pretty soon, isn't it?
I'm looking on Steam because I've seen it on there a few times.
Yeah, pre-order bonuses and all that.
Well, this is odd. It's not in new releases, and it also doesn't seem to be coming soon. Oh no, there's 3 phases of coming soon now. Jesus. No, it doesn't have a date. Okay then.
Okay, so it can't be. Maybe it's not that soon then. After all, something that is soon though. Halo Reach is out next week.
Yeah. We'll have to play that.
You know, I'm not sure whether I'll get it immediately though. And this is a bit of a weird one for me because I'm very much in two minds for it because I'm quite excited and we normally play it in co-op and do it quite excessively and it's quite good fun. However, with all of the Halo games so far that have had a limited edition, I've made sure I got the limited edition version, and this time it's taking the piss somewhat because it's £55.
But what more do you get?
fuck all, basically. It's you get the class. I say you get fuck all. You never really get much in the actual game, but you get like stupid little memorabilia and stuff. And sometimes it's really cool. Like I quite liked Gears of War's art books that they come with, and sort of concept books and things. They're actually really cool because they sort of show off the graphic design of the game, which is pretty amazing. And the Halo 2 limited edition admittedly was fairly weak because all it really had was the shiny box, and the game manual was written from the perspective of the Covenant rather than from Master Chief, which was quite interesting. It was interesting, but really dumb. It did come with like a making of DVD, but that was pretty shit. It did have actually no. The only thing I remember about that DVD that was actually good was this interesting bit where they showed some of the cinematics, like in concept phase. So they had like no textures or whatever, and no animations, and they just sort of like looked like they were moving models of arbiters and grunts around, and it looked really funny. Like it was, I think it was. Yeah, it was one of the scenes that wasn't included in the game in the end, and they had someone being thrown off a cliff. Except you can imagine none of the limbs were animated, so it just looked like a figure sort of rotating in the air and then falling down, bad Garry's Mod style.
But it would have been funny if it had been like not even models, but like drawing board style, just like cut out and like puppeted onto the screen. That would have been awesome.
Like South Park.
Well, yeah, except with even less animation than that.
Rog. and terrible voiceovers, that would be pretty cool as well.
That's always funny.
Rog. Oh no, I'm dying. Bleh. Yeah, so some limited editions. As I say, I don't mind the Gears of War ones. So okay, you don't really get, as I say, much with them, but the sort of little trinkets in the box are kind of cool. And I don't know. I found the because Gears of War 2 was all about Dom's story about his wife or whatever. Basically, for the majority of the game, you get this little, a version of the photo he carries around with him.
Joy.
Yeah, completely pointless, but I don't know. I kind of liked that, and the tin was cool and stuff like that. As far as I can tell, in Halo 3, in Halo Reach, all they've done is Halo 3 wasn't much to shout about as well. They just gave you an extra disc. Another making of thing.
Creature book thing.
That might have been 3. What was it? I don't know. Yeah, I think that was 3. The creature guide. The Halo 3. That was all right actually as an extra. Halo Reach has an interesting concept art book, which might be okay, but it looks a bit rough and ready and sort of has some backstory which you don't get from the game apparently. Which is fine, except for the fact I might look at it and then go, okay, this probably spoils some elements of the game that I haven't yet played.
Well, don't look at it first, then!
Yeah, I know, but you want to. You want to go, ooh, stuff. And there's some other pieces of... There's like a UNSC badge. Physical badge, like a scout badge. You can attach to some combat clothing that you may or may not have. There's a...
That doesn't make any sense anyway, because if it was an actual UNSC badge, it would have to be made of metal and then welded onto your armour.
Well, not one for Master Chief, probably one for the Marines, I guess. Oh, but the Marines are kind of armoured, aren't they? They don't really wear just cloth.
Well, I don't know, it might be sort of cloth coated over something, because it doesn't look like metal, really.
No. Kevlar? Really big Kevlar?
Something along those lines, probably.
Or maybe it's like the off-duty wear or something. Like the white suits they wear occasionally.
Oh, I guess. Ceremonial.
But anyway, actually, I suppose thinking about it, it's not that bad for a limited edition. However, it is £10 more than the most limited editions that I've bought. The Gears of War 2...
Halo 3 was only like 45?
Yeah, seriously.
Doesn't seem
on
likely.
and the Gears of War games on launch I picked up for £45. This one's 55, and it doesn't cut. As far as I know, the box isn't even a tin. It's like just a big cardboard box with some foam, in the shape of something, and it's a bit bigger than normal.
In the shape of something.
Well, it's actually in the shape. It's supposedly in the shape of an Oni storage canister, or something. Presumably that's important to the game world. I don't know.
Well, what sort of storage canister are we talking? It's not like a tube or something.
No, it's like a little crate. It's like made of a bluish sort of metal. Well,
When you say crate, are we talking like nearly cube-sized? Like it's as long as it is wide or something?
It's a bit more. It's a bit more cubic. Yeah, it's you open it vertically, I think. So you have to set it down and then lift the top half off.
Oh right, that kind.
Yeah. Like
That sounds kind of ridiculous.
It does sound. I suppose I'd like to see one, or maybe the retail stores will be selling it cheaper. But online, I've only seen it at 55, which I don't know. A bit of me shouts that's too much for a game.
Wasn't Oni in ODST? The woman.
Yeah, it gets mentioned in the
like...
Haloverse a little bit. It's obviously a reference to Bungie's early game of the same name. But
oh yeah, wasn't she? She was like Oni or something, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was Oni, I think, and then
some secret organisation, obviously.
I never actually. I think my brother owned it, but I never actually played it. Which is a shame because it looked quite good. And I seem to remember it being pretty good anyway. Bungie, I expect it to be good. I was watching some interesting videos about the Easter eggs and stuff you can find in Halo 3.
Yeah.
Such as the Lonesome Man.
Yes.
Oh, what's hilarious.
We found by accident that like monkey family, didn't we?
Oh yeah, that's quite an easy one to find though.
Yeah, relatively speaking.
Especially if you sort of when you realise you have to go finding the skulls and stuff, you start exploring the levels to a degree, don't you? And then
yeah.
Although some of the things I expect you to do to get those are pretty ridiculous. Like without the online guides, and we still haven't got all of them because some of them just sound insane. And
it's because we can't be asked to play the last level long enough to get to the Halo rings and then jump through them in that specific order.
Yeah,
that's just way too much effort.
And there are some that are just irritating, aren't they? Like, oh, you need a vehicle for this bit. You need to wedge it into this bit of thing so you can then jump on it and then get to it.
Well, I don't know if that's necessarily irritating. That's sort of...
Well, yeah, but if you don't have a vehicle
sort of obvious
point,
kind
it's
of...
just kind of like, oh, fuck, well, I'm screwed now, aren't I? I'm going to have to start the whole level again.
Well, yeah, it's annoying, but it is sort of obvious sort of exploration technique of, like, if you want to get to a higher platform, you need to wedge something there so you can jump off it.
Yeah, but isn't it just immediate assumption? Like, and it's like, oh, it looks like I'm not supposed to go up there. There can't be anything there. You know what I mean? It's just... Don't be wrong, I think it's cool that they put all this stuff in, but perhaps they're asking a bit too much of regular Joe gamers like you or I that don't have the time to fuck about for hours in levels.
Well, I mean, it's fine to hide them somewhere that's, like, maybe not entirely... It might have been easier if they only just, like, make it so you had to, like, melee a box across the room and then jump on top of that or something, rather than a vehicle. Because that's rather more specific and, like... Because it's not in the area, you know. Yeah. You have to bring it from somewhere else.
Yeah, no, you're right. I wouldn't mind something like that where there's a cubby hole that looks semi-suspicious and there are some objects you might be able to use. That I'm okay with. Because it's not immediately obvious, and at the same time it's
like no one. How did anyone ever work out where it's like, oh, these rings when you jump through them, they play a musical note. Well, let's just try playing random tunes with it and see if something happens.
Yeah.
Probably they didn't work out. They probably just hacked the game and then saw the code or whatever.
There are a couple as well, aren't they? Where there are some weird ones where if you stand listening to a radio for long enough, it starts playing music from Marathon and things like that. Or even the Lonesome Man that I mentioned. In order to get to it, you have to make an awkward grenade jump onto a rung, a singular rung in a forerunner complex, and then from there do an awkward jump onto a ledge that leads into a completely black area, so the only way you can view it is using your torch.
Well, they kind of did that in, like, Half-Life 2, didn't they?
Did they?
Yeah, with that Vortigon in the sewer pipe, where after you fight the helicopter on the lake, you have to drive the airboat up against the wall and then jump on top of the airboat to get into this sewer pipe that's open on the side of the map. And then you have to be on like quite a lot of health because it's toxic fluid in the bottom of the sewer pipe that you have to run through. So you have to run all the way in there, and then there's like a random water gun frying some head crabs over a fire, and then he basically does a whole lot of talking that's always like exposition about like the backstory.
Oh
like,
yeah, no, I remember that actually. Yeah. I caught up with you at the frying head crabs thing.
That was sort of the same, except that, again, that's like, you had the airboat at that point anyway, so it wasn't really... You didn't have to bring it from somewhere else, dodgily.
Not massively difficult to find. But that's fine, I'm okay with that. That's kind of cool. I don't know. Make it a bit easier. Easter eggs are awesome, but make them easier.
Just a bit.
The one about the rings that you mentioned is extra annoying because you had to do that to get the skulls, which are things you know about and have to get.
Yeah.
You know, they shouldn't be that hard. The Easter egg stuff, yeah, okay, make that difficult. That's not so bad, but... Well, to a point. I still think the Lonesome Man is pretty obscure, but...
Getting all the, like, even just things that aren't actually Easter eggs, like getting all the recordings in ODST, that's just like, they make it, it's like there's a lot of them, Jesus.
There's a fuck ton of them, yeah. We still haven't tackled that, have we? And it takes bloody ages, isn't it? Because you have to...
it's because we don't actually know the mechanics of it. It's like we don't know what causes new ones to appear or whatever.
It's sort of awkward, like, certain parts of the story, we're not sure if certain bits of the city sort of open up as you progress through the story missions, and obviously there are certain points where you get to a point and the city closes off. So you've got to not go past a certain point, otherwise you're buggered.
Yeah, we roamed around a lot.
Yeah, and we're still only just over halfway. But anyway, yeah, that's the only thing putting me off at the moment, because I want the limited edition. I'm not going to go for the Prestige edition, or whatever the fuck, Legendary edition, that's it. Because what was it, for Halo 3 you got that fucking head.
Yes.
Although I have to admit, they've been a bit more stylish with it this time. Again, it comes in a slightly bigger version of this canister, I think. So it's like, they haven't really maxed out on the box, but it comes with this fairly cool looking sort of figure. Of like, or diorama type thing. I don't know, what do you call it? Like a statue-y type thing of the characters from the game, which is actually pretty cool. I didn't look up the price of the Legendary Edition though. But you'd have to offer me a little bit more than a statue, I think. But then again, if it's done well, I suppose those statue things can be pretty darn expensive.
Yeah, but it's not really going to be a collector's item or anything. And it's like it
depends how few of them they make, I guess.
Well,
this limitedness is.
It's just like, seriously, is that ever going to matter? It's like, is anyone ever going to really care that there was like, these statues, they only made some number of them at some point. But they're just like a molded statue thing that, it's not an uncommon thing for people to have.
No, I guess not. But they are, yeah. You look at these things and sometimes you can't quite work out why they're so expensive, but there are some good ones. What is it, First? The stuff on First for figures, for instance. Crazy expensive. And some of them are pretty damn cool, but... You have to be mad.
The train's going to be loud.
That train actually reminds me of the sort of horror noise they use to sort of build suspense or something. Maybe that's a bit too long, but that sort of rusty metal sound.
Yes, at least it wasn't the resonance train.
There's
always one goods train that comes past at like 3 AM, which must be like, I think they must do it deliberately where they just like only send it out incredibly late at night, because it must be some like skanky old ass, getting old kind of engine, because it has a very precise resonance that just causes everything to vibrate even more than usual. It's like, oh, it's the 3 AM vibro train. God damn it.
The vibro train. Yeah.
So they try and sneak it out while everyone's asleep. Causing structural damage.
You know, the more I think about this Halo Reach limited edition, the more I actually want it, and will probably sort of succumb. Simply because, well, if I don't get it, then it will probably sell out, and blah, it might be a bit hard to get hold of. Except for the fact I know for a fact I'll be able to get hold of it again. But do you want a... there's always that slightly worth. Well, if I buy a second-hand limited edition, will it have the shit in it, or will some of them just sort of kept bits of it, or got a coffee stain on it, or something, or... The whole point of getting a limited edition, I suppose, is because you get this pristine extras, and if it's gone through a second set of hands, it might be less awesome. I don't know. I probably will. I do get 6% cash back, though, off play.com, so I might do it that way. Seriously, if you haven't, I got introduced to this week, and this is a pretty awesome service, actually, called Quidco. Where
You're just going to do some advertising now.
Yeah, basically, yeah, I am, because it's amazing. My car insurance has come up for renewal. Admittedly, this doesn't apply to everyone. Not like you, I mean by that. And basically, if you do your shopping in the normal way or something, you know, if you, like, you go to compare the market or whatever, and you can do that via Quidco as well and get 50p added to your account. So you go to compare the market, you get your quote, you get 50p added to your account. That's your start, and then you take their recommendation, and if their recommendation is also listed on Quidco, you then go get your insurance via Quidco to that insurer, and you get about the same price, blah blah blah. But then you'll also get like 50 quid cash back. So basically, I've used compare the market. I've got like the quote I want from Hastings Direct. It seems like the best I could possibly get. And Hastings Direct are on Quidco, so I'm going to get 50 quid cash back on my quote. And that's like awesome. And like there are lots of other things. So for instance, Play.com offer up to 6%. I think it's like, actually I say it's up to 6% from Play.com. So I think games and stuff you get like 4% back. And at game.co.uk or whatever it's called, you know, the actual game store, you get 6% on software, stuff like that. So it's actually like money for nothing. If it's a purchase you were going to make anyway, try it through Quidco first and see what happens.
Genius.
It sounds amazing. I'm new to it, so I don't know quite how it will go, but the service, it sounds way too good to be true. Basically, the only drawback, and this is the way Quidco make their money, is out of the cashback incentives. If you make any money, £5 of that, of the money you've already got back out of them, you pay them in it annually. So as long as you're making more than £5 worth of cashback via the website, you're still up.
Right.
I'm not entirely sure this is sustainable from their point of view, because that doesn't sound like a lot. unless they're getting quite a lot of benefit from, you know, as well as the 50 quid cash, but maybe the 50 quid cashback comes out of the referral fee or something for the companies they've got listed. So maybe the referral fee or something for an insurance quote or something was £100. So for them it's like, £50 cashback, yeah, no problem. That just comes out of our profits, but yeah, hell, we still made 50 quid. I don't know, could be something like that. I don't know.
Right, are you done with your advertising pitch now?
Well, no, that was me questioning it. I don't know how long it'll last, but I don't know. Do it. It's cool. It sounds
You can't
cool.
say that on a podcast. What are you doing? Sell out.
Hey, I'm here to recommend anything that I find interesting.
Yes, but this is meant to be about video games, really.
Okay. All right. Was that the ghost Dan, like whispering in your ear? Topic.
Well,
Context.
but it's kind of important. Try vaguely to stay on topic, apart from when we go off topic. But when we're off topic, it's meant to be, you know, things that are funny.
All right. Okay. Well, okay. Shall we move on to the traditional question then? After I've had my
Even though
ramble?
you know for a fact that this is not going to go anywhere.
Well, if it's going to go somewhere, surely. It always goes somewhere.
Well, it's going to go somewhere,
unexpected.
just not where the question wants to go.
Well, what have you been playing this week, Zach? Or this 2 weeks?
Yeah, it has been a long time again, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been a couple of weeks. Damn you, Dan, come back. Get out of Scotland while you can.
I'm sure I've seen him on MSN, just he's always away. So he's probably like on his phone or something. God knows.
Did you get MSN on iPhone? I wouldn't use it anyway.
Maybe.
I'm totally not interested, but...
No. Well,
We were asked that question the other day, actually. We were surprised that, to our knowledge, no one has reverse engineered the Steam system, so you could log in from a different device to get to your friends list and chat stuff. That hasn't happened. So like a Steam app on iPhone.
Though, really, to be honest.
Well, I guess not. I suppose it's only designed really for gaming, but you never know. Oh, in a way, it could stop people from hacking your account, because if you're logged in on your phone or whatever, no one could be using your system at home. or you know,
that's not exactly
account.
That's not exactly security, really. That's like...
no, but I don't know. It might be useful to like get in contact. You know, say for instance, you had a slightly busier life, and one of your competitive TF2 matches that you're probably about to tell us about come up, and you know, and you need you're out and about, and you know, a reminder comes up on your Steam account saying, "Don't forget we've got a match in like." Well, admittedly, I was about to say 10 minutes, but it's probably a bit too late if you're not at your computer looking at Steam.
That's probably true.
You know, Steam could alert you to various things, or friends could find you saying, "Do you fancy a game of Left 4 Dead?" No, I'm in town having a pizza, but I'll be on later.
You use some other application on your phone to make a note. You don't really need Steam to do everything for you.
You know, what if you haven't been told about, you know, because you find out about matches.
Well, if you haven't been told and you're out somewhere, and then they're like, "Hey, there's a game," then maybe you're like, "Well, you should have told me earlier then." Then I wouldn't have been out.
True. You know. But in this connected day and age, there should be a method.
It's like add them to a different messenger.
I don't know, this is why I quite like the idea of Xbox Live on Windows Phone 7. Because you will have that connectivity. You'll be out and about, and people on Live can message you. Even if you don't know who they really are.
To message them back.
It doesn't take that long. It'll be over, provided you have data connection. And can type on a keyboard. It's not that bad. Seriously, the soft keyboard on the iPhone is not that bad. The annoying thing about it is the auto correction more than anything. You'll try and type a word that is technically a word that you use in speech, but isn't in the phone's dictionary.
This may only be a problem for you.
Yeah, maybe. But it will correct it to something that is English, not necessarily grammatically correct, but it will correct it to a proper English word. And it will do it automatically unless you look up at the correction as it appears and push the X button. Otherwise, you then have to erase it and type it again, and then it won't bother correcting it the second time. But
yeah,
that can be quite irritating.
You just not turn the autocorrect off or something.
You could. But it is useful.
And then you just spell every other word wrong.
It's one of those annoying things, you know, it's useful half the time. Because
can you not just add your
typing on the
words
soft
to
keyboard is okay, but occasionally you make mistakes. But I'm not entirely... Yeah, I don't know how that works. I don't know if you type a word that it doesn't know that it remembers it. I don't know if there's a system to expand the dictionary on iPhone. I'd imagine, knowing Apple, it's all under the hood and there is no option. But
yeah, probably.
The way it works, sort of fuck it, basically. The Apple approach. So anyway, yes, the original question: what have you been playing? Tell us. Yeah, okay, I brought it up. Tell us about your TF2 competitive lifestyle.
Not that it's very competitive at the moment, of course, but it's just like for that ETF2L Highlander thing that basically Valve sort of advertised themselves on the wiki and the blog. It's like, oh, there's this Highlander competition coming on, you should join. and then millions of people joined it, and it was like, oh shit, we've kind of overfilled all our slots. Now we're gonna have to make it double the size, and that's still probably going to get full. So it hasn't started yet. That will be starting sometime towards the end of September.
Yeah, I was about to say, didn't they put on the blog fairly recently? Oh, it starts tonight or something. It's like, hang on, wait, how? Or was that one of the games that actually featured like Valve stuff or something?
Yeah, that was a weird game where it was like, I don't know, it sounded like they were having 3 teams basically, and they were going to like switch out or something. It was like a Valve team, and then a community team, and a competitive team.
Maybe they're inventing game modes with more than just red and blue.
No, I don't think so. Well, I'm fairly sure. I think I've maybe heard of like mods that have like more than 2 teams. Where it's like green team. Woo!
I was about to say, if they were going to be green, would they have to shorten it to 3 letters, like blue and red?
Green.
It'd be like green team. Are there any colours you could have that would actually fit into like 3 letters other than blue and red?
Now we'll have a slight pause while we both think.
Because you've got grun, or yellow, or yellow.
Orange sort of works. If you have like...
On. But what would that be? That would be ORG, so it would be org or on. Or
I think on probably works.
Or on. Or just RNG. Runge.
Yeah, that sort of works as well. But the trouble is, you can't have it start with R because red already has R.
Yeah, it's the Runge team. I can't really think. I suppose black could just be BLK.
Yeah, but that's not really a colour.
And white could just be like WYT.
WHT.
WYT. That sounds more like
white
Y.
doesn't have the letter Y in it.
No, but it spells white. Purple might be a problem. That could be like PPL.
People, the people team.
People team. The People's Republic of Purple.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to work.
No, probably not. I don't know. Do you reckon they could do that in future? Like add game modes that may involve more than 2 teams?
Well, you have enough trouble getting enough people for 2 teams.
Not for Highlander, but you know what I mean. Just in
yeah, well,
like,
I meant even in general. It's like if it was a 16 on 16, that would make it 8 on 8 on 8 on 8.
Yeah, I guess. You might need a full server for those to work, or maybe it could be something the server picks up or something and goes, "Oh, we've got a full selection. Maybe we should switch to one of these."
And then everyone leaves.
Yeah,
That keeps happening.
you're right. It's rare that you get one of these multi-team games that actually seems to work in a fair manner, I guess.
Well, that's the other problem, really, isn't it? Because it's like if you have if you imagine like a 4-way map where it's in a cross shape or something, you're never going to equally split yourself between the 2 teams to each side, and then you're also never going to go across to the other team. So it's like there's naturally going to be unfair, no matter how symmetrical you make the map.
Yeah, it's like I do remember playing like multi-flag games in Halo 2, I think it was, where with 4 teams. So it was basically capture flag, but you had 4 teams in the same level, and yeah, that was pretty fucking difficult because obviously you could have more than at any one time. It could be a bit unfair because you could have multiple teams trying to cap your flag. So then you're gonna lose it, and they're gonna get points like willy nilly. But it basically meant defense was pointless, and then it's just a speed run almost.
Yeah,
it was a bit weird. It doesn't really work. I suppose like Team Oddball in Halo kind of works okay with like 4 teams.
Or like Team Rocket Mongooses.
Yeah,
Teams of 2.
those are awesome. Especially because you couldn't die except for flattering, I think.
Yeah, that was a pretty hilarious game though.
We should. Have you heard there? We might have talked about this previously, actually, but I was about to say we should get you an Xbox Live account so we can, when we do get Halo, we can get you to play properly, so we don't have to play on the unranked servers. Usually a laugh anyway, but you know what I mean. Yeah, but I was going to suggest that, except for the fact that I don't know if I mentioned this in previous podcasts, but the Xbox Live price is set to increase.
Yeah, those bastards.
Don't know how much too, but I don't know why it needs to be raised, really, because it's not like they've got much competition from PlayStation Plus.
No.
That does sound completely pointless at the moment, because what does it do? It's like Xbox Live Gold, it gives you cheaper deals on games, which it sounds a bit of a double-edged sword, really, isn't it, that one? It's like, oh, you can pay money, you get money off. Right, okay. And like access to some things like the minis and game demos and early content for free, but other than that, I really don't see the point in PlayStation Plus. Basically giving you stuff you really don't want.
At least it's not making you pay for home, lol.
Yeah, that's true.
That's giving you stuff you really don't want, and it's free.
That's still utterly pointless. It's a nice experiment, they just didn't really make enough of it, and the whole... I instantly turned off it when I found out that all the content in the home actually has to be paid for with real money.
But the main problem with it is they based it off Second Life.
Yeah. Which was popular at the time.
Well,
it's gone out of favour at the moment, hasn't it? Really, Second Life. It's not in the public eye so much.
Well, yeah, it's not in the public eye, but it's probably still popular, I'd say, on average.
Maybe. It's not like businesses have quite the same sort of...
Yeah, luckily they realised that was a really retarded idea. It's like, let's have a corporate office in Second Life. That totally has a point.
Yeah. I suppose maybe in the future it would have a relevance, but we're not there yet. The worlds just aren't complex or rich enough to support that kind of shitty socialness.
Yes, which is why Home failed. Because they were like, we can make it...
You say it failed, but they're still supporting it. And stuff still happens.
They're fools.
Yeah. Weird, maybe it's bigger in like other countries than we expect, really. Or maybe it's somehow made Sony money, I don't know.
Doesn't sound very likely.
Because they do get like adverts and stuff in the hub worlds in Home. So maybe they make enough money out of those, I don't know. Either way, it got uninstalled from my PlayStation.
Yeah.
It was well, except for the again, I think we've mentioned this before in a previous podcast, but I have to give them props for being able to control the two parts of your body to dance differently.
That was pretty funny.
I want to do one dance, but I want to put my arms doing another dance on top of the leg dance. Sweet. That was totally awesome. Isn't like I forget who worked on Second Life. Is it that company called Real Time? No, Real Time Worlds is something else, isn't it?
Yeah.
But they were the guys that made APB and went under. I think there's some company that's involved with Second Life that are trying to make another sort of social experiment sort of thing where it's like you build towns or something, but you try to make them like real ones or something. And the shot they always show is a recreation
like something
of London.
Slightly more organised than Second Life.
Yeah, but the screenshot they show is a recreation that someone's made of London, and I need to find out more about that. But yeah, let's not talk about that now because that's kind of a bit.
Because apparently we don't know anything about it again.
It's conjecture and weirdness, but
it's always the best conversations where we don't know what the hell we're talking about.
Yeah, very professional sounding. So Team Fortress competitiveness. Make me shut up.
Well, there's not much I can say about it, really, or not really much I want to say about it.
Well, how does it work?
And
How
I'm
does it
just
feel
gonna
to be
yawn
part
right
of a
now,
pro
so-
team? You know,
Well, it's not exactly a pro team.
not like a pro team, but you know, a team in general. Because being like part of the heavies is one thing. You know, being a reg on that was probably the coolest thing that's happened to me in my gaming career.
Well, it's just like it's not. It's the trouble is I can't. I don't want to say anything because then I might start dissing people. I don't want to talk about organisation or anything.
Well, yeah, as we mentioned earlier, the whole thing that did happen to you, didn't it? The whole last minute kind of notification thing.
Yeah, I think we're still working through that as a sort of a team. Like
we're working it. We're working it through. We're having meetings, and there's a counsellor involved. We're getting through this difficult phase.
Well, yeah, but it's just like we're like developing the methods, so it's like it's like our team leader guy was like making a forum post where he's like, "This is what I must do next time. Have someone on backup." It's like, yes, I agree.
See, I wouldn't mind getting involved in like a tourney and stuff, but as we sort of pointed out before, my life is considerably not available enough really to get involved, especially if it's like that last minute and stuff.
Well, I was going to ask you, like last night.
Yeah, well, it was unfortunate. Oh, what? You needed me as a backup or something?
Yeah, because it was like pretty much at the start of the game.
I could have done it last night. I was just playing dirt.
Well, I know, because I saw you, and I was like, oh, he's playing a game, maybe he can play, but then the guy turned up anyway, so you would have had to play demo then.
No, that's fair enough. I'm not a big demo fan.
Yeah.
I'm trying to learn, but I'm still shit at it.
Yes. I've been sort of spreading out into the other classes a bit more recently, after my
I was
spending a long time playing just Sniper, pretty much.
Yeah, you're basically Sniper and Scout.
Yeah,
only.
and I'm scouting the team. I haven't been... Even though it's like...
How does that work? Because surely in Highlander... I've never actually played a Highlander game. Surely there's sort of... The balance and the mechanic of the game is quite a lot different from a traditional match. Like,
Well,
there must be a sort of different feel, because you only know... Because you know there's only one person of each type, and each person's
role
role surely
different
becomes...
from a normal game.
Really?
Like just on a random server.
So it doesn't like emphasize the role, Highlander as a game type. I mean, not necessarily the fact that it's in a tourney, but it doesn't like you don't get that feeling that your role is more important than it normally is because you're the only one. Or
well, if you compare it to like a normal random game on a random server, it's not much different from that, apart from it's got that sort of competitive game element where it's like the team is obviously slightly more organised. It's like stick together and all push at once, or hold back and defend while we build up an Uber or whatever. But apart from that, it doesn't really, you just like, you're basically all sticking together a bit more than on a normal server. I don't think it emphasises the roles that much, apart from, a couple of them where it's like, if one of the snipers is pretty good, that can be fairly devastating. And if the spy gets backstabs in, that can be dangerous.
How does Highlander work in general? Is it kind of like last man standing sort of thing?
No, it's just like a normal game.
Do you die and
you can only have one of each class.
Okay. I don't know, something about the name Highlander and the fact that they advertised it as there can be only one, I kind of got that sort of...
Yes, but that's the thing, there can be only one of each class.
Yeah, of that class, but the whole Highlander reference seems to suggest that there's only one person physically left, not that there's one... you know what I mean?
Presumably that would be Highlander Arena, though.
No, maybe, yeah. Team Highlander Arena, yeah. Because
That'd be pretty
Arena
weird.
Isn't team normally, yeah, no.
But the thing is, even from like me playing in this team or whatever, being as I'm scout, it's like I really have the role that makes it even less like I have to do anything that's like a competitive match, because my role is to just sort of run around, shoot people when I can, find out where people are. Like I'm not involved in the pushes, or like not really very much involved on the defensive where they're like waiting to build up an Uber or anything. I'm just like running around.
Does this mean it forces you, because you're the scout, you have to be pretty damn vocal?
Well, not that much.
As in,
only
there's
if
a
I
dude
see
here,
something that's
there's a
actually
sentry
important.
here.
Most of the time, I like. I'm just trying. It's like the things that I normally say on the voice will be stuff. Normally, it's the spy, where it's like because I'm like patrolling the back routes or whatever, trying to flank round to see if I can pick someone off, and then I will like meet their spy coming the other way to try and come up behind our guys.
Does it play like the casual meet the spy music then?
No, not quite. But the trouble is, normally when you meet the spy in that situation, you just end up either killing him or dying because it's like when you're a scout like I am, where it's like obviously you're faster than him, so you can't really escape if he's not got cloak or if he's dead rigger or whatever. So you're pretty much committed into just fighting him.
Fair enough.
But yeah, so that's one of the few things that I really have to say on voice. And then, like,
is it as I imagine it? In the because a lot of the videos you see online about TF seem to use the base weapon sets. I mean, presumably they haven't enforced that in this tourney, but do people tend to use the base weapons, or do they use the unlocks fairly frequently? Is it like the pro tactic to not use unlocks or something?
Well, most of I'd say in most of the cases, like most of the unlocks aren't so useful for sort of the team because it's like when you only have one sniper, obviously you probably want it to be a rifle sniper so you can pick off the other sniper. Because if one of them's a bow sniper, you're probably going to be fucked.
Mm.
So it kind of limits you to like you have to have the ability to, and it's like Demo Man. Obviously, you can't be without the sticky launcher because that's so useful for like holding choke points or whatever. So there's certain things that you're pretty much guaranteed that you have to use that weapon. But then it's like with me on Scouts, it's like I can get away with using the Sandman if I want because it's just like.
Well, presumably stunning is actually quite useful because you could hold off part of someone's attack or.
Well, yeah, it can be. Although, to be honest, I think I've been finding sometimes it works really well and sometimes it doesn't work at all. I think it just depends on like how people are playing. Because if they're like too compacted or whatever, you don't really get a chance. And it's not so useful because they're more aware. You can't really sneak up or whatever. You do tend to see spies. So far, from what I've seen, spies are the ones who definitely use the most of their unlocks because they can use like all 3 different cloaks depending on what they want to do.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Does the spy get an easier time then in Highlander because there's less members per team, I guess, and less pyros mainly?
Yeah, the less pyros maybe makes it easier, but obviously it's like they can't fool you for very long with disguises or whatever because you should be able to tell.
Oh, I guess it's easier for them to spot themselves.
But if they
will probably happen more frequently.
But if they can uncloak quick enough, they're good for like picking someone off very instantly. It's like if they come suddenly by surprise, they can easily take you out without you being able to stop them and then disappear again if they're good.
Oh, yes, I see. Uncloak nearby, you mean dive in, get your stab, and then run out.
Because obviously, because you're trying to use the voice channels more, you're probably less able to hear uncloaking to some extent.
Medic targeting must be even more important in Highlander games.
Always trying to kill the medics. That's something that's probably one of my other main jobs as a scout. Really, is like if you can just like rush in and try and pick off their medics stealthily. Sometimes it works depending on how aware the team is.
Yeah, if you can get behind the medic and just unload a couple of scatter shots, you're sorted.
Yeah, that works quite well sometimes.
I noticed you've been using Force of Nature recently.
Not in the Highlander though. I've just started using that randomly on the regular servers because now I think it's like I used to not really like it at all. I used it for long enough to like get the achievements or whatever, and then switch back to the regular one.
Which I've done the same, yeah.
Because it's like the 2 shots or whatever. But for some reason, I just started using it again recently, and I've been doing pretty goddamn well with it.
It's weird.
It's kind of weird.
You go through phases where you're good with one of the weapons, and then I find you switch to the other one, and then you're better at that for a bit. And then it's weird. Like as you get used to a weapon, you sort of stagnate with it at the same time. You don't actually get that great with it, I find. So maybe it's time for me to switch back to the scattergun. Because you do have quite a lot of awesome moments with with the Force of Nature. I mean, not the scattergun, because it fires so fast. Sometimes that's actually enough to kill someone quicker than if you had the scattergun. And
well, the thing I find with it is like maybe I'm only doing better with it because now I have a much better frame rate. I can actually aim the 2 shots you have slightly better. And then obviously because if you're hitting people more with it, it does more damage per shot. So providing you can get those 2 shots to connect, you can do more damage. Knockback isn't really that helpful.
No, it's not massively effective, is it?
It can be okay. It's like if you catch someone in a corner, where you can just like quickly shove them around the corner and then run back around the corner and reload casually.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Speaking of knockback and stuff, I've been trying to do the pyro fire axe technique because I never did get the hang of that.
Chuck someone up against a wall and then fire axe.
Yeah, I'm starting to get a bit better at noticing when it's a good moment to switch to the extinguisher. Yeah, starting to notice that, get the hang of it a bit because you see it quite a lot. There are certain players that do it all the bloody time.
Yeah,
and it's really irritating because you can't help but wonder to yourself, how do they make it look so easy? Surely the knockback pushes them away far enough so then they can't axe them. I don't know. I don't get it. It's all about... at the minute, the only time I can get it to work is if I shove them in corners.
Yeah. Oh, it's like I keep... that is one of those things that like I've never learned to do it because I'm too obsessed with the flare gun. It's because of my habit of only using the quick switch, where it's like, so I only ever actually use 2 weapons.
I'm not too bad now. I'm learning to actually, because 1, 2, and 3 aren't actually that far away from your WSD layout. That to reach up and hit them isn't so bad.
I just don't like moving my fingers like that. I need them on the movement buttons at all times.
I still get speaking of layouts like that, I still get frickin' confused with Red Faction's fucking weapon layout. I still always end up finding myself pushing the wrong bloody number button. I don't know why that is. I just
like I said, right. You just have to use 2 weapons.
Yeah.
Use the quick switch again.
Can never seem to get it right. But I was playing a bit more of that the other day. As I said, I've nearly finished all the stuff in Badlands now and been doing some of the stuff in Oasis at the same time.
Right.
So it's a bit of a weird sort of where you get it's like some missions lead you to Oasis now from Badlands, and so you end up doing some stuff there and bit of a crossover. Going on, and I think the next mission I have to do is the free fire zone that you were telling me about.
Yeah,
how you get past the artillery.
That's a pretty funny mission.
Awesome. But I there was some. The bit I was going to mention is that there's some seriously nice lighting effects when you get to that part of the game, like the way the sun sort of glares over hills and stuff, creating that lovely volumed light.
Well, you mean you just haven't noticed it up to that point?
Well, yeah, probably. But you know how the sort of like you get that noticeable light glare where it looks like the mountains are cutting into it, and
yeah, the sunbeams. It's like the DirectX 10 option. Where it's like, the option only appears if you have DirectX 10, which
it's really very nice. It's really very nice, that effect. But the rest of the lighting in the game is occasionally suspect. It looks a bit flat and dull, but that effect in particular is beautiful.
Yeah, it's be awesome.
That was my noticing of lighting effects for the week. Apart from, I still played Dirt 2, and every time I pick that up, I still can't help but think, God damn, this is a beautiful looking game. I really struggle to think of something that comes close to just the fidelity and actual level of realism that it provides. Something quite incredible. And it's a year old now, so it's like, wow, it still looks excellent.
The train agrees, obviously.
I'm partially surprised no one's picked... again, I think I've mentioned this before, but I'm still surprised that no one's really picked up Codemaster's Ego engine. And used it in their own projects, because it got, with Dirt 2, it got marketed as an engine that you can use, because, they made a big deal. This is the Ego engine, have it. why give it a name if you're not going to license it out? So they made a bit of a deal of it. And as far as I'm aware, no one has used it yet. And I can't help think to myself why. It's obviously amazing.
Well, it's obviously amazing in the end product, but maybe it's like hard to program for or something we don't know about.
Maybe. Still eminently impressive. Oh, and yeah, to answer a question we raised in an earlier podcast that I happened to be listening to today. It was called Colin McRae Dirt 2 in Europe.
Oh.
Apparently, the full title is Colin McRae Dirt 2, or at least that's what they say in the game.
Oh.
It gets introduced as Colin McRae Dirt 2 by the voiceover people.
But in text as well?
Yeah, that's the bit I still can't remember. I didn't bother looking. But I just remember it getting introduced to me as welcome to Colin McRae Dirt 2.
Right.
Hey, I'm Army Armstrong.
I don't think he is. So that would be awesome.
Wonder what happened to that dude. Or whoever he was in the first
Yeah, it's like, I wonder who that dude was.
Yeah. Hey, I'm Army Armstrong. He was the voiceover for Monster Truck Madness, for those that don't know.
Monster Truck Madness 2? No, was he in 1?
No, he was in 1. He might have been in 2 as well, but yeah, they were funny.
They were terrible.
Yeah. Good old early Microsoft. Really pushing the boundaries of standability.
But nothing compares in terms of skanky old racing games to like Big Red Racing, clearly.
Oh my god, yeah. That was totally skanky, but somehow totally hilarious.
Yeah. It was like so weird.
It was like going through that phase where sort of crazy ass punk style was kind of cool. Like, do you remember the PC version of like Road Rash?
Yeah.
But
then again, that was kind of fitting for Road Rash.
I guess, but it was a bit weird. It's just all the random sound effects in the menus and stuff, like random fart noises and
we've done that,
spits. Well, yeah, of course we've done it. But this is a commercial game that's menu was like that. So clicking things literally just went and random noises each time, and the occasional random bit of speech thrown in there as well, which got very confusing if you were clicking a lot of things.
Yes.
Like, often bits of out-of-context speech as well that had nothing to do with the rest of the game. Like, I feel like drinking a gallon of turpentine and pissing on a brush fire. I remember that one because we were young and pissing was funny.
Man. Like, what rating would that game have had? If anyone had cared at the time.
I wonder if it actually ever got reviewed or noticed. It's
Yeah,
one of those games that sort of went under the radar of common knowledge, isn't it? A bit like Tactics.
Yeah, but Tactics was more like no one knows whether it actually got released or not. Because there was a demo and then it just kind of vanished.
Yeah. Even though there were screenshots in the demo of the full product, or levels that no one has ever seen since.
Yeah.
Man, this is reminiscing time that no one will know what the fuck we're talking about is half the problem with this. These are games that were cool, but like Big Red Racing and Tactics, but yeah, to our knowledge, we're the only people that ever saw them.
Yes.
Pick up parts.
Weird.
So, Team Fortress 2, competitive play, not really that interesting.
What the hell were we actually talking about that brought us onto all this other shit? Team Fortress 2.
We'll find out later. Well, since then, according to my tag list, we went from Home, Second Life, Red Faction, Dirt, Monster Truck Madness, Big Red Racing, blah.
Wasn't Home and Second Life before Team Fortress 2?
It probably was before we started talking about it properly. I think I mentioned it, and then we went off on a tangent again, and then it came back.
Yeah. No shit, we just reanalyzed our own podcast again.
Yeah, we did again. We
really need to stop doing that.
Yeah. It's not the best. It's like It's quite a common thing, though, isn't it? It's stupid. We get in a conversation and you can't remember what it is that you've just done. And it happened to me the other day. And, well, it's not just common for us. I think it's just common for me in general, yeah. But a mate of mine is very good at picking up these sort of social and memory tics and just general actions that you're just involuntary sort of stupid things that you do. And like we were walking back up to work after visiting the sandwich shop, and there's a code to get into the gate, and we walk up and we type it in, park through and stuff, and then we start walking down to the thing, and he's like, "Did you just type the code in, or did I?" And I'm like, you know what? I don't fucking know. And I couldn't, for the life of me, remember whether or not I'd typed the code in or not. I had a memory of walking up to the code box with my hand up, but I couldn't remember if that was from today or from some point in the past as I normally fucking do it.
That may not be it, you know. I don't think that's necessarily an indication of a social something. It's just like your memory is not up on unimportant things.
Well, exactly that. That's the weird thing. You do so much automatically when you're talking and involved in a conversation that some things literally pass you by. And I found it really weird, because that's not a crazy easy job, I suppose. That you have to walk up to a box, you have to remember a code, you then have to make sure you type it in correctly and not mash the keypad with your palm now, and then wait for the gate to open and then go through. It's all kind of a slightly awkward experience. It's not like opening the car.
Well, except you've probably typed that code in so many times now, you probably can just do it by muscle memory.
Yeah, true. You might be right on that. It's the same with my PIN code. I can do that on muscle memory now. But
my PIN code has an inconvenient pattern on the keypad, so it's incredibly easy to remember even if I don't know what the actual numbers are. Just like, follow this line.
Yeah. Hopefully that's not giving away too much of your PIN code there, but...
No, it's not. I specifically made sure to say something that wasn't exactly what it is.
Okay, so for all you thieves out there, his PIN code is not in a line.
That doesn't narrow it down very much.
No. Although I'd imagine I suppose there are still quite a few combinations. I was about to say, in terms of shapes, you might be limited. But
so that was another random off-topic thing we just talked about. Where did that come
from?
From talking about off-topic things. That was great. That was like recursive. We went off-topic to talk about how we went off-topic.
Well, yeah. It's I don't know. I find that stuff interesting. It's just like seconds ago. Have you ever had that thing where you've left the house and then you've got like 2 minutes down the road and you physically cannot remember whether or not you locked it or not? You sort of you've done it, and you find out when you get home that you've done it. But for that few sort of, and sometimes to the point where you've turned around and gone home just to check, and it's like because you actually can't bloody remember whether you've done it or not.
Well, that's just like a classic, though, isn't it? Oh no, did I leave the oven on? Holy fuck!
Yeah, but that's slightly rarer because presumably you don't have the oven on all the time, and then every time you go out, you turn it off.
You never cook anything.
We cook stuff.
You
take it. Don't cook. I made chips and chicken skewers from the freezer today.
You forget most of the time to even turn the timer on to remind you when to come and take the things out. Right?
Well, that's true. That's just
and I know for a fact that you definitely left the oven on more than once when I was there.
Yeah, but so did you.
Yeah, so there you go. It's not that uncommon.
Okay, maybe. No, that's precisely my point. It happens, and it's weird and interesting.
Sort of interesting.
Shit memory, Alzheimer's.
Fun times.
Early onset Parkinson's.
Let's quickly sum up Team Fortress 2, if we can sum up what I just said, even though I didn't really say anything, I just waffled. Oh yeah, that was the other thing I was going to say about Team Fortress 2 before we went off on random other stuff. In the vein of going on to trying out different classes and stuff. Yeah, I've been trying out, like, Demo Man and spy and really badly failing. It was like, oh, I should probably try and maybe use the sword so I can get some of those achievements. But I can't fucking use the sword at all. It's like I've only managed to get one hit with it the entire, 2 or 3 rounds I was trying to use
one
it.
actual connect, not just a kill. You mean you only managed to get it to damage
Well, I think maybe I
once.
connected twice in order to get that kill.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense.
But it was just like, oh, how do people do this? How do people get so many kills with this thing? And then you've only got the grenade launcher to fall back on.
Were you trying to combine that with the charge and charge then?
Well, yeah. Because, it makes sense.
It's not easy. It really isn't. That's... Even when I have landed good hits on people, it usually doesn't seem enough to kill unless you've got a charged run on them.
Yeah.
Which is usually relatively easy to dodge if you've got enough range.
Yeah, it's really awkward. And then oh yeah, that was the thing I told you this the other day, although I got it wrong, because I was telling you about how I looked at my stats from, playing different classes and stuff. I was looking at my kill to death for all the different classes. But as it turns out, I was wrong about which class I had the best kill to death ratio on, because I told you it was doing that, but it actually wasn't. Because it's like...
Liar!
It's like my Demoman kill to death now is, not even above 1. It's like,
but that's not uncommon for me. I don't know how. Again, that's another weird thing. It's like, I don't know. Maybe it's just my playstyle, or maybe I'm more crap than I realise. But actually, getting positive ratios is hard.
Well, it's hard, but But yeah, as it turns out, the class that I remembered that I told you was Demoman but wasn't, that had a ridiculous kill to death ratio was Spy from my gun Spy. I have a 3 kill to death ratio on Spy, which is way higher than all the other classes.
Man, that's crazy.
Even though I don't practically ever cloak and I just try and pistol people all the time.
Wait, you mean that's higher than your sniper rate?
Yeah, my sniper rate's only 1 and a bit or something.
Really? Huh.
Actually, I'll probably go and check that.
I'd have thought your sniper rate would have been ridiculous.
It's like Scout is slightly better than 1, which is pretty good for Scout. Probably.
Well,
right,
yeah, Scout, I guess.
Let's see, because I can
I don't know. I always tend to make most of my points in the other areas of the game, like epic healery or crazy fucking large amounts of assists. That seems to be where most of my game lies, is assists.
Well, it's like in my role selection thing on the stats. I haven't ever played, in the last 28 days, I haven't ever played medical heavy. So I guess that tells you something to start with.
Mm.
But yeah, it's well, it is slightly better than I thought. My Scout one is 1.31.
Okay, that's not so bad. That's
okay, and then my Sniper is 1.83, so that is nearly 2.
Yeah, okay. No, that's definitely more like it.
But, yeah, but then it's like my Spy one is 3.27.
Yeah,
It's just
mine is definitely nowhere near that. I find it incredibly difficult to have anything like... Well, the thing is I know what you mean. Using the normal revolver is far more effective than the Ambassador in most circumstances.
Well, except all those kills have pretty much been with the Ambassador.
Oh.
Because that's all I do. It's I'm so bad at trying to cloak and be stealthy and uncloak in the right place and be disguised as people. I'm just running around gunning people and trying to get headshots.
I don't know, I can't fucking use the Ambassador. I tend to do much better when I'm using the normal revolver.
Yeah, I mean, when I have used the normal revolver just to pretty much be a gun spy again, it is pretty goddamn effective, really.
Yeah.
It's accurate and everything.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like the Ambassador, you only really get one shot, and then presumably by that point you're probably fucking dead if you're in that scenario where you need to use it.
Yeah, I very rarely, empty an entire clip. It's just I take one shot, but normally I'm I'm practically at sniper distance or whatever. So it's not like I have to fire again if I cock it up. Or I can just pop up the dead ringer and explode.
Explode.
But yeah, also the other class that I've been doing significantly better as lately has been Engineer. With my hilarious gunslinger pistol combo. It's don't ever use the shotgun. You only need the pistol.
Just watching you play it, I'm surprised. I don't quite get how you get so many pistol kills. It's like, unless you have an inordinate amount of luck to come across people that are quite heavily damaged by the time you pistol them.
Well, I mean, that's sort of the trick with the pistol, is that you can actually hit people who are really far away.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you just spew bullets at them, and then if one of them, it's like, if they're retreating and they've only got hardly any health left, you can easily pick them off. Although that's not necessarily, I think quite a lot of, well, no, because I mean, I'm looking at the stats, and my kill to death on engineer is like 1.9, so that's even higher than sniper.
Still good.
And that's only on the H8 servers as well. Because I was about to say maybe it was because I've played a couple of other servers where with crits on, and if you get a crit pistol clip, you just own the shit out of everything, because a crit pistol bullet does 45 health.
Wow, okay, that's really effective.
And obviously that, because crits don't get affected by range, so even if they're far away, it's still 45 health.
Yeah, no, that's pretty amazing, actually. I didn't realise it was quite that bad.
So yeah. And after I finally managed to get key binding to work correctly once I learned what the scripting language was for it, after my initial attempts to put it on, like, the G keys on the side of my keyboard for all the various buildings, that didn't work so good. But then I remembered that I've got, like, 2 extra buttons on my mouse. It's like, of course! So it's just like the side buttons on my mouse, the bottom one, which is easier to reach, is the build sentry, and then the top one is build dispenser.
Actually, that could be pretty damn useful, actually. I don't think I've used the extra buttons on my mouse for TF2.
Yeah, I should probably maybe use them for some of the other classes as well. Because, you know, having those extra buttons right within reach is pretty goddamn helpful.
Mm.
I mean, with the Gunslinger Engineer, I mean, luckily, well, not necessarily luckily for me as such, but unluckily for everyone else, on the H8 servers, they've removed, or, well, probably in Half-Life stats in general, they've removed gaining points from destroying sentries. I think.
Oh, what, entirely? So if you kill a sentry, you no longer get server points?
Oh no, you still get... Oh no, wait, it's the other way around. You still get points for destroying the sentry, but you don't get any points for building a sentry any longer. Because you used to get points for building them as well.
Yeah.
But now
that makes sense for mini sentries,
so
that makes sense for mini sentries, but for big sentries? Does that
well,
still
I
really
mean, of
make
course,
sense?
the stats don't delineate between them at the moment still, so I guess they had to remove it, if temporarily.
I don't know. Maybe that's a bit harsh, but
yeah, that's the trick.
The points would have made sense, I think, more than getting rid of it completely.
I mean, that is the trick with Gunslinger Engineer, where it's just like, with the button on your mouse, on my mouse, which is just literally instantly switches you to build sentry, don't ever bother, like, it's like if a spy saps it, don't even bother trying to unsap it, just wait for it to be destroyed and build a new one. If you're running away, it's like if your sentry, if like they're coming around the corner and you've left a sentry, when as soon as your sentry goes down, just build another one as you're still running away. It's just like drop them everywhere. It doesn't matter.
Here's a question then: if you're doing these key binding scripts and stuff, or just in general, actually, can you bind a command to multiple keys? Because the main options don't let you do that, do they? For instance, if I wanted like the normal weapon shortcuts to be on 1, 2, 3 above my movement keys, but I also wanted for instance, if I wanted spy, for instance, I wanted as well as the normal weapon selections, I wanted to assign a button on the mouse to switch to like the knife, for instance, or the sapper. Probably the 2 most useful things you'll need to switch to quickly or out of. Then, you know, could I do that as well as the number keys?
I don't know, I think you might be able to, because you can do like aliases where instead of binding the key to binding the action directly to the key, you bind the action to the alias, and then the alias, the other way around. You bind the alias to the key, and then the alias can call up whatever. You know, I think you can probably assign multiple things.
Oh, I see. So you make an alias that does the action, basically.
Yeah.
So the alias is like the script, the function, so to speak, and then you bind keys to that function.
Yeah, I assume it works like that anyway.
And theoretically, you can do multiple keys to a function, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I assume it works like that. I'm not actually entirely sure. Like I said, I had enough trouble just getting it to work with pushing this button causes this one thing to happen.
Because the only real time I use the extra buttons on my mouse are in Borderlands. I use it as melee attack. The extra fun button, and in
it's
Left
default,
4
it's
Dead,
like-
I use that as my sniper rifle zoom.
Yeah, because both of those is default on middle click, where it's like push down the mouse wheel.
Fucking middle. I hate middle click. On those little
Slightly
scroll
awkward.
wheels, it's bloody irritating. Especially if you have next weapon or the previous weapon set on the mouse wheel as well, because it's so easy to accidentally just do that.
Yeah, that's true, I guess.
Not that I use a wheel really for TF, but
I know, the trouble is, sometimes when I've been playing Engineer, I get the feeling that I may have done something still wrong with the scripting for like this building section and everything. Sometimes it's like I've got it set so it's like you push the button and it instantly switches to like build sentry, so it doesn't even go to the menu or anything. It just brings up the sentry blueprint straight away. But sometimes it's like I push it, and then when you click to build the sentry, instead it like pulls out the shotgun, which is on slot 1, and it's like it's missing. It hasn't realised that it's got to the blueprint, and it's like somehow sneakily brought up the weapon wheel or something. I don't know. Sometimes it doesn't seem to actually work. And it's like press it again.
that's half the problem with the scripting, isn't it? There's always a sort of drawback to doing it most of the time.
I get the feeling that might still be because it's a really weird system for scripts in Team Fortress where if you make a file that's like autoexec.
Yeah, auto-exec.
Yeah, to make general key bindings, but then each class has its own key binding file. But the trouble is that it's the inversion of exclusivity, where instead of like you'd think that if you put the key bindings, if you say made some key bindings in the engineer file, that would only apply to engineer, but it's actually the inverse, where it's like if you keybind something in the engineer file, you also have to keybind in all the other classes to not be that.
Oh, right, I see. So if you change one, you need to make sure the others aren't affected. You know, you have to set the script so it does something else, because it will still apply to everyone if you don't.
Yeah. It's sort of a backward system, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, that's shit, actually.
Seems kind of awkward. But, I mean, obviously, for me, since I only use it for this one thing at the moment, it's not a problem. Just put it in the AutoX.
So what happens if you bind, say, one of these actions in one of the... That's an interesting thing, actually, because that really begs questions as to how the fuck they've done this. Presumably it means then if you use a class, it runs the class binding script and assigns that button. So then if you use another class, you keep the last script that you used on that button. So say, for instance, you assigned 2 classes to have something that attached to this extra mouse button, for instance, and then went to... say, some other class that you hadn't assigned any class for, presumably the binding would remember the last class you used.
Yeah, presumably. I guess that must be how it works, because it must, when you change class, it must load that class's specific config file, and any that aren't in that file, it doesn't change.
Yes, I guess. Which is okay, I suppose, if you're not using the button with other classes, because if you it's only bad, I suppose, if you have a button that you could accidentally press, and then something fucked up might happen, or a weird combination of events might occur.
Well, yeah, it like wouldn't help if you had like your idea of like having your extra mouse button on Spire's switch to knife, but then that would just switch to melee on any class you played after Spire.
Well, actually, that might be relatively useful.
Depends.
You know, an always switch to melee would be quite nice, or an always switch to, well, whatever the like secondary weapon normally is.
Possibly.
That could be quite useful.
But anyway, yeah.
If I could do multiple bindings, that would at least give me something I can use those buttons for.
Yeah. It was like, I'm still... Like, obviously I should use them on Spy to do something. Because I never...
Unless you could...
Switching weapons and stuff on Spy is so difficult.
I wonder if you could assign it to give it enough time to like one of these buttons, so you could script quick switch, fire, and then quick switch back.
Yeah, you can do that in theory.
Can you presumably time it so the fire doesn't just happen immediately, so when it doesn't have any effect?
Yeah, assuming, I mean, there's the whole problem of like some servers don't allow the scripting wait command, but I'm not sure about what percentage of servers or whatever. Because you have the wait, so you like switch and then wait a certain time, the time it takes you to pull out the gun.
Probably fair enough, because it's kind of scummy, I guess. Some of those tactics are bad. I suppose it's that command that causes the annoying, like, the things I don't agree with, like the sticky explosions and...
Well, it's like some of them are kind of... It's like there's the sort of general example on the engineer page of, like, automatic building, sort of, where it's like you have it set to an extra button or whatever, you press and hold that button... And then what it does is, so when you press it down, it switches to the building, places the building, it switches to the wrench, and then continuously swings the wrench until you release the button, and then it switches back to your gun.
Okay.
So it's like automatic building, but then you can abort it at any time by releasing the button, and then it will switch you back to your normal weapons.
Interesting. That might be a little too excessive, really. I'm not sure I'd want a script. I'm not sure I'd want a script that does all that for me.
Well, I mean, it used to be sort of the classic way you could tell when someone was using an engineer script, where you, like, destroy their sentry, but then the engineer just sits there swinging it mid-air because their script hasn't turned off yet. Because they haven't noticed or whatever.
Damn, that's funny. My sentry. Or the script went wrong, I guess, maybe.
Possibly.
Missed the release.
So, yeah, I guess that's Team Fortress.
I don't know. I don't mind scripting to sort of help combos out or, add, well, multiple bindings in our case, which seems to be all I need, but, so yeah, this is a recurring theme. I don't like scripting. Laugh.
You just don't want it for, like, complex maneuvers.
Yeah, I don't. I think it kind of takes away from the intended point of the game, really, sometimes. Like, complex spy maneuvers should be complex because they're hard.
Well, yeah, I guess. But, I mean,
unless they made it easier for everyone, then it's unfair.
I just have so much trouble with Spy for, like, just keeping track of it. It's because when you're playing Spy, you really do need to use, like, 3 different weapons and the disguise kit constantly.
Yeah.
You can't not, you can't just be like I normally do and quick switch between 2 of them, because then you're gimping yourself.
Yeah. You need everything.
Which is why it's like, I should clearly script some of this to some extra buttons.
Yeah, maybe. I'd say for me, quick to sap and quick to knife would be nice. Not to the actual action, but just to bring it up would be fine.
Yeah.
Without affecting the other classes. Blarg.
Well,
anyway, yeah.
Quite
you got anything else you've been doing? Or is it all Team Fortressing?
I'm trying to think. I actually got round to installing Dwarf Fortress on this machine again at last.
Does it run any faster?
Well, I can't really tell yet because, when you start the game, it still runs at maximum frame rate. It's only once you start getting bogged down in high population and, like, pathfinding that it starts to suffer. So far it runs at 100%.
Hey.
Haven't yet managed to make it go down, but then again, I only just started the Fortress and I was like, I can't possibly play this anymore. Don't know what it is. I've not reached my Dwarf Fortressy phase where I get really into it for a while.
I'd still be quite funny if, like, the entire purpose of the i7 chipset in all its glory is to play Dwarf Fortress.
But as we may have discussed before, it's actually likely to make it run worse.
Yeah. The whole single-threaded thing. Modern technology does not agree.
I have watched, like, the CPU usage chart when I was running it, and it does seem to, like, not entirely run on one core. There are small bits of activity on the other cores that are not just my background activity.
Well, yeah, if he's threaded anything at all, then the game will, Windows will step in and do some of that for you.
So it's, like, slight bonus.
Which is actually one of the concepts I need to look into at work, actually, coming up fairly soon, is how to thread what is essentially a single-threaded operation.
So you can learn to do it before the Dwarf Fortress guy does.
Yeah, I'll be on that. Basically, I'm just taking a single-threaded operation and trying to make it run in multiple threads, and hopefully Windows will do the legwork for me and spread it out over multiple cores.
That would be useful.
That's the plan, anyway.
And then
Yeah,
apart from
effective,
Dwarf
that
Fortress, I can't think of anything else. Apart from maybe just a tiny little bit / a lot, because god damn it, this game, just a small amount of Robot Unicorn Attack.
Seriously.
Because god damn it, that game. It's
Are there any Robo Draculas from the moon?
No, unfortunately. There may be robot dolphins, although it's hard to tell if they're robots because you can't really look at them when you're concentrating on what you're doing.
So when the fuck did Dwarf Fortress insert the idea of robots into its fantasy universe about elves?
I wasn't talking about Dwarf Fortress. Pay attention.
Are we not?
This is a separate game.
Oh, really? What was it now? What are we on?
Yes.
What did I miss?
Yeah, I was talking about Robot Unicorn Attack.
Oh, what, Robot Unicorn Attack is a game?
Yes.
I thought you were talking about
You should just be glad you don't know about it, because god damn it.
Yeah. I thought you were talking about the Dwarf Fortress. Goddamn, that game could have robot uniform attacks. Whoops.
Well, it can have unicorn attacks, just not robot ones.
Okay.
Because
That's
actually,
alright, then.
unicorns are quite dangerous in Dwarf Fortress. Or have been in
They-
previous versions, anyway.
Yeah, it's because they can shoot magical shit from their horns.
I'm sure they will do when magic actually gets put into Dwarf Fortress, as is the plan
Rainbow.
at some point.
And maybe they'll have royal rainbows.
Quite possibly. But you should just be glad you don't know what the fuck your Robot Unicorn Attack is, because
No, I haven't got a fucking clue.
it's the simplest game ever, with like, it only requires 2 buttons, but it's become like an internet meme in itself.
Okay. What do you do?
I will say no more. And, you
Okay.
know, I'm sure, it's like, you don't know what I'm talking about, but it's like anyone who like listens to this who does know it will be like, oh my god, I can't believe he's admitted to playing that or whatever.
Oh no! Yeah, speaking of which, oh no, this is really bad. The way you just said, "Oh God" and stuff, it totally reminded me of losing the game.
Game is irrelevant. That's old school internet now. It's like we're past that.
maybe.
The
Maybe,
game was
but-
won when XKCD did that strip about it.
Know your roots, man. I'm still not entirely convinced that comic strip actually rules out the game, but you know, semantics.
It's the internet.
Semantics, bitches. Once you're in, you can never win.
Rhyme cert must be true, as the
Yeah.
old saying goes.
It's not possible.
How much time
Anyway.
do we have left on this recording anyway?
If we need it, we've got a whole 18 minutes.
Wow. Holy crap, we might finish sort of on schedule for 2 hours. Wait, we've talked for 2 hours? Damn, this is long.
Yeah, we've done pretty good. You know, I was a bit worried after our last performance. It's like, fuck it, let's cut it short at 60 minutes. And
Yeah, I was imagining we were just going to really totally lose track of everything and talk some totally stupid shit.
I've got to be honest, I'm not entirely convinced that our Team Fortress Ramble will be that interesting to people. No, analysis, goddamn, stop.
Smooth. But we analysed Team Fortress. But that's the trouble, you know. It's like, this is a game we play way too much, so we have tactics and shit.
Yeah, and we actually talked seriously about it. Analysis, oh fuck. It's really hard. Just leave this stuff to the off-air chat. Wait, that's analysis too. Oh fuck!
You can't win!
Ah.
Just make blubbering noises until for another 18 minutes.
Hey, I sound like the hat from, or the presenter from Mario Party 8.
Yeah,
Okay.
not that. The not hat part of that guy.
Yeah. Alright, I'm going to go off on a bit of a rant here. Fuck Mario Party, right? It's one of those really frustrating goddamn games where they seem to get so much right, and yet at a very critical level of the presentation, so much is wrong. Like, the mini-games, they're fine. The actual games you get to play are great, but the irritation of the interface that you have to go through to get to the board game, and then when you're on the board game itself, you have to wait for animations that take fucking ages.
Yeah, some of them are particularly bad. It's like totally unnecessary, extremely long sequences.
What they've had 8 iterations to get that right, and the earlier Mario parties are less irritating than the new ones.
It's like
in terms of the
like
speed and stuff.
A sort of a casual game or whatever. A
That's
party
no
game.
excuse. Even for normal people, that gets annoying.
But it's because it's meant to be a casual game.
Because we don't count as normal people.
No, evidently. Like, because it's a casual game, it's meant to, you may suggest that, maybe that's okay. But seriously, who would want to play that for like 2 hours or something? Because even on the shorter setting, it takes so goddamn long.
Yeah. That is true. Well,
who but the hardcore are going to play a full-length game of that?
We have done it quite a lot. But just think, if they took like all the presentation crap out of it, and so you didn't have to sit through like epic amounts of text, all of which is shit, and the annoying animations and the really over sort of, it's almost overproduced, isn't it? In places, like, oh, wait for this. Oh, look, they've made a fancy animation for that. Oh, that's great. Oh no, now I'm sitting
like
here
those
waiting
double
for
dice
it.
blocks or whatever.
Yeah, fuck's sake.
That is the most unnecessarily complicated animation ever.
Who needs like a Final Fantasy like GF sequence to play out just because you've got a second dice?
That's one of the, that's probably worse in the new games than the old games.
Maybe that's one of the things.
I guess in like Mario Party 1 and 2, it didn't even bother, did it? The dice just sort of changed colour.
Yeah, basically. It was completely unnecessary, but everything does it, doesn't it? From the candy animations, making you all blobby and stuff, and taking time, and then you actually have to play your move, and then generally as stuff happens involving the candy actions, you then have to wait for that to play out every time, and
then you un-candyify at the end as well. Just
yeah,
make that
and it doesn't
long.
seem completely aware of the fact if you've done the action once before in a game. So if an event occurs, for instance, it still has to explain it every time, rather than, oh, okay, here comes another one of those event thingies.
But maybe that's also a sort of one of those casual party game things where it's like, maybe you weren't paying attention, maybe you need a recap.
No. Fucking crap, you can then ask one of the other players that was paying attention.
Yeah, but you know how well that turns out. Getting someone else to explain you the mechanics of something, even if it's something really simple.
I don't know. I can't help but think that if you sort of missed something like that, then it's your own downfall. And then it's kind of funny anyway for the rest of the game. It's like, what's going on? I have no fucking idea. Maybe that's one of those things they'll fix in like Wii Party when that comes out, because it's. I don't know who's heading that. I don't know who's heading that, but they're basically taking the Mario Party concept and putting it into Nintendo's new Wii design style with Mii's and things. Know what I mean?
Yeah.
So maybe the new presentation approach will be slightly less irritating. Although I was saying that the other day when the Wii is on, it's like I still don't quite understand why Nintendo have to have every single screen needs music, and you can't turn it off. It gets really fucking irritating because it's sort of nice.
Does the main menu screen have
plinky?
Music?
Yeah, it has that plinky plonky stuff. And then the shop has that shitty ring, the classic. For the love of God, let me turn that off.
Well, the GameCube menu screen had its weird background noise.
Yeah, but you weren't really in the GameCube menu screen for as long. There was less purpose to it unless you were spending fucking ages sorting out your memory cards. And that was just sort of strangely cool, actually, in the way that when the cube rotated, it played a different chord. Or... That was kind of cool, like that. I hope they get Wii Party right. I actually do hope they get Wii Party right, though. Because for all the complaints we have about the Mario Party series and all of their, well, essentially completely lethargic game design, they don't actually bother improving anything. They just sort of make it occasionally worse. Maybe the fresh approach will breathe the life into it so desperately needs.
Well, as we've always said, the main problem with Mario Party is they keep not including every single minigame from the previous games.
Yeah. Why is that? Why do they not do that? That's just lazy. Especially in most of them where they didn't actually introduce any new mechanics to the game, so they could have just put them in again.
Yeah, maybe take out the hand-burning ones, but...
well, yeah, the classic Mario Party 1 actually does damage to your palm games, but... because they were fucking ridiculous.
But those easily could have just turned into button mashers, although I guess they pretty much didn't, because in Mario Party 2 they did have...
It was pretty much all mashing, wasn't it? Any of those games.
But they weren't the exact same games, but they were similar.
Yeah. And they replaced that in the Wii with wanking games.
Yes, unfortunately. Although those are nowhere near as cool. It's just wow, shake a can.
Infinitely funnier, but...
Not nearly as cool as the hammer that button really hard to make a long Domino's line of fonts appear.
Actually, yeah, that was pretty cool. I mean, admittedly, it's just a button, as you say, a button mash challenge, but something cool about the sort of style of that one.
It was the race aspect. It was because the original Mario Party 1 version was the destroy your hand to wind up the flying shy guy thing and race along the track. It's like, when it's that kind of race thing, that looks cool, but this sort of just standing in the middle of the street shaking a can, that's not cool.
That's no good. It's like fake street smarts right there.
Don't stand in the street shaking a can, kids. It's not good.
Well, that was the other weird thing as well, wasn't it? The presentation of Mario Party 8 was inconsistent enough to the point where all the menus ran at one frame rate, apart from a couple, and the board ran at like a low frame rate of 30 frames per second, but all the mini games ran super slick 60, and it's why? Seriously, what the fuck was that all about?
Because they realised that you only need 60 frames when you're playing mini games, obviously.
I don't know. That is super lazy, if you ask me. It's not like it's doing anything particularly intensive on the main board game. It's not like Metroid or whatever that manages to look amazing and run at 60. Well, I say amazing, but good.
Well, I mean, it's not like they're not exactly using pre-rendered boards any longer, though, are they? Or not as much.
Well, no, they are sort of properly rendered now, rather than backgrounds. But it's still, I don't know. It's still not difficult. There's no excuse for it. It's shit. Big disappointment.
Oh, that
I'm
was
still
a good rant
bitter.
about Mario Party then.
Yeah, I'm not bitter.
You've only bought none of them. Oh, wait, one.
Yeah, I bought one of them. You bought the rest, so.
Wait, which one?
That's what
friends
are for.
I had
for
two.
Mario
wait.
Party.
Who had one then?
Oh no, that wasn't even any of us. Barlow had that.
And then we just ended up with it somehow.
Well, no. Recently, I acquired it through a friend who was going to chuck it.
No, I don't mean now. I mean back then we acquired it somehow.
Yeah, back then we just stole it off Barlow.
For a long, long time.
Yeah, quite a long time, yeah.
Yeah, and then I got two. One of the, two games I actually brought for the N64.
Yeah.
And then I got 4. And then we realised that this was a bad idea, because obviously none of the other ones that were going to come out on GameCube were going to get any better, so we waited until the Wii.
Yeah, I really don't know anything about 5, 6, or 7. I remember one of them introduced vocal control.
Oh, yeah. That was Nintendo trying to get some more use out of their stupid microphone.
Yeah,
pretty much only got used to that Pikachu game.
Yeah. Hey you, Pikachu. That can't have been a very long game, because it would have been quite literally, hey you, Pikachu. What?
Well, it was just like a virtual pet thing, so I'm sure it wasn't a very long game.
What the fuck are you talking to me for? I'm a fucking Pikachu, fuck off.
Bitches.
Ghetto Pikachu.
Oh, the new Pokemon game got, like, maximum score in some Japanese magazine. Which means it might be okay.
Will it have changed enough to hold my interest? My money's on no.
Well, I don't know. I mean, the way people have been talking about it so far, they've suggested that it may well actually have changed enough.
Mm.
At the very least, every single Pokemon in it is different for the first playthrough.
Which
So
is
you
kind of
won't have to-
interesting, I suppose. I mean, it
You won't
means
have
you
to have
can't
anything
rely on
yet.
prior knowledge quite so much, which is good.
Yeah, that may help.
It'll keep
Although
it.
it's not to say
It'll make.
prior knowledge.
Presumably, it'll make it feel slightly fresher to experienced players. It won't make any fucking difference to me, but
Well, no. It just really depends on what they do with the mechanics. If they change that sufficiently enough. Because, you know...
the combat system's
whole...
got to be a bit deeper than just, if you have these moves, you will win.
Well, yeah, that's where prior knowledge really comes into it, where it's like you know what is good against what, and what moves are probably good in that element or whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter what the Pokemon looks like then, you just as long as you know the moveset.
And hopefully the sort of trial and error play, like the first time you play it, presumably, you're not entirely sure whether it'll level up immediately or keep stuff down leveled for a certain period of time.
Oh, yeah, but that's like...
And all
That's
that
where you start
balancing
getting
act
even more hardcore shit, where it's like,
I suppose,
do you
but
let
the
this evolve
balancing
immediately,
act
or do you wait for it to get better moves sooner, or whatever?
As I say, the balancing act of good breeding is that's really very hardcore, isn't it? When you think about it, it's.
Well, it's extremely hardcore once you get into all the ridiculous actual numbers behind that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Has
so
it
it
got a
may turn
name?
out it's black and white, so
Oh.
they've run out of colours at this point. So this will be the last one, clearly. But according to this like Japanese review or whatever, or presumably the translations of this Japanese review, that it's like this continent that this game takes place on is going to be, because you know how in like all the other games, they happen on like little islands, and they were sort of roughly, vaguely meant to represent Japanese islands, you know?
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah. But then apparently this one, this new place that it takes place is vaguely meant to sort of represent America.
Gasp.
So
That
like,
other large continent that Pokemon seems to sell well in.
yeah, but I mean, obviously, considering that, you know, it was a Japanese review or whatever, so probably they got maybe excessively excited about that, but it's something different at least.
We love you, America! Well, the Japanese hated everyone.
That's a random stereotype to come up with.
Well, you know, I always just, you hear stories of them being kind of, very, what's the word? Patriotic, I suppose. It's not really the right word, is it, when you think of the Japanese, I suppose, but, kind of very much strong believers in their own culture and stuff, and that, outside are welcome. No, yeah, not particularly thorough embracers of other cultures, I suppose, but then... Right, well, yeah, as you probably gathered, technical issues totally fucked that up, and we'll just
Again?
cut it there, to be honest.
Second time?
Yeah. It's not going well for me. I don't know why. I don't know what happened there. It's just like the recording seemed to cut with a whole 60 seconds left on the clock. It just sort of decided, yeah, fuck it, I've had enough of this. So, yes, this has been
it has indeed had enough of that.
Yeah, so, yeah, to summarise, this has been the second Saladcast, Minicast, Tardcast. I've been Robert Kemp, and that's been Zachary Burgess. We won't be any more. I don't know why they always say it like that,
start,
do
did
they?
we?
No, we didn't say who we were, but never mind, so I'll do it at the end, that's why I'm doing it.
Good.
And, I don't know why they say, no, this is probably going to start another conversation.
Yeah, let's not.
They always say, I've been such and such, that makes it sound like they're no longer going to be that person when the show ends.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm off to Deep Hole, and I'll see you next week, where we'll be probably not doing a cast, because I'll be in Amsterdam on business. Hopefully Dan will be with us shortly, though. He informs us that he is. So it'll be presented by Dan Train, Fernando Rodriguez, and Zeg. That's his official name.
Thanks.
Zegios Brikofamu.
The what?
Brikofamu.
Okay.
Yeah. So, on that note, bye.
Yes.